it gets better, especially when you add a latte. So let's kick off this episode by sipping our lattes. It is really early in the morning for me, which is possibly also really early for you when you're listening to this, so we can just have like morning voice together. But I wanted to get on here and I wanted to share that literally you, no matter how hard you try, you can never be someone else. You can be a better version of you. You can be a worse version of you. You can be a different version of you. But no matter how hard you try, you can never be someone else. And so I was reading through my devotional the other day, and one thing I wrote down was made different on purpose. And I didn't know how much I needed to hear those words, that I was made different on purpose. And so were you. And I don't know why we like to gloss over the fact that we're all different and we just want to immediately put our pedal to the metal and just all be the same, when being the same is not that fun. Okay, I mean, I don't want to be like someone else, because then if they like something I like, then we're gonna have to fight over it. But I know that I probably don't like the things they like, so there's plenty of room in here. And dude, we are made different on purpose. And I wish I knew that, because I spent so long of my life trying to fit in. I had yesterday on the podcast, my high school teacher, she came over and she recorded 3 podcast episodes for you guys, and those will be released gradually. And basically she came on and I was like, the last time you saw me, I was someone completely different. I hadn't seen her in 10 years, because that's how old I am, you guys. I graduated high school 10 years ago. And it was just like, I was a completely different person. And all I did when I was in high school was I tried to be someone else. And I was like, who can I be so other people like me? And who can I be so I blend in? And yesterday we chatted about masks and how kind of masks allowed people to become invisible and like fade into the background. And I just put 2 and 2 together that I did that same thing in high school, minus the mask. I just tried to be like everyone else so people wouldn't see me as any different and nobody would pick me out or no one would call me out. When in reality, my different life and me and who I am makes me who I am. And that makes me me. And that makes me exciting and interesting. And everything I was trying to hide is everything that has made me become set apart as an adult. And it was because I tried to fit in because I wasn't really great at school, not because I wasn't smart, but because I didn't know how I learned best. So if you're struggling in school, I highly recommend you figure out how you learn. I used to think I was a visual learner. I am so not. I am an auditory learner. Auditory, I don't know, the one with the words out loud. And if I would have known that, then I would have become such a better student. If I would have known that I had, crippling ADD, I would have learned how to use it to my advantage. And you know me, I'm always here for going to therapy. I was going to therapy at that time, but I feel like my therapy sessions weren't really like, they were more dealing with my childhood trauma than they were dealing with me today, which is good because I'm happy I don't have to deal with that anymore. But I was also going through so many things that people had never gone through in high school, because you'll notice, like, let's say you're listening to this podcast and you've gone through it, okay? Like, you were served a deck of cards where you've been going through it. And I went through it a little bit in high school, like not anything like I've been through it as an adult. I had things happen to me, and I was literally like debilitated by it. And I feel like in high school, a lot of kids, like, there are some kids that are debilitated by trauma, and then there are some kids who just have never had any because their parents have like, like, they're just hovering over them like a bird. And I'm so grateful my parents didn't do that, because I was able to learn and grow and evolve. But I was also under the eyes of a therapist, and I was under the eyes of like a lot of other people who did love me, but I always was kind of just going it alone. And I'm so grateful for that trauma because it made me an empathetic human. So if you're going through it right now, I want you to know that You weren't dealt a deck of cards unlike anyone others. You are going through this right now for a purpose, because when anything gets tough, just remember you were made different on purpose. I literally love that line so much. I'm going to cry thinking about it, because I wish I knew that so much sooner. And this whole podcast is to deliver you content I wish I knew sooner. And that line, why am I going to cry? That line is one of them. I always thought I was made different, and they messed up. I thought in the assembly line of life, I was in the reject pile, and I was just going to be broken and different and discarded for the rest of my life. But once I realized that I was made different on purpose, and everything I'm doing and everything I'm good at and was created for, and speaking and doing all these things, like, it was so I could be here today, so I can step into the next part of my life, so I could show up for you right now who's listening to this. And when you start a business, and if you want to start a business in high school, go for it. When you start a business, you have to figure out like who you're talking to, right? And for this podcast, there's this one awful photo of me where I have my highlights are grown out before balayage, whatever it called, existed. Okay, this was just called You Had Roots. Okay, it was called Them Roots. And I made this podcast for that girl who, I look at her and I literally could start to cry, because I was so alone in high school. I was so lost in high school. I was just going through it, and I felt like nobody else understood, and I felt so different. I felt like everyone else was cool, everyone else was popular, everyone else was this, everyone else was that, everyone else da 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 da, and then there was me, the rejected, broken, busted, emotional, weight troubles, couldn't talk to people, didn't really have many friends. Like, I just felt so different. And if I knew that I was made different on purpose, I could have done something completely different with all of that information. So if you feel like broken, busted, rejected, any of that, I want you to know that you're not. The way in which you're looking at yourself is the thing that's broken and busted, okay? And the ideals that people are putting on you, the schools are putting on you, the kids are putting on you, everything's putting on you. The ideals that everyone is just putting on you is just, it's not it. Because when you take a step back and you realize that you're not broken, and you're not wrong, and you're not broken, and you're not unknown, you are made different on purpose. So I want you to take that line and engrave it in your mind, so the second anything comes up, when anyone says something about you, does this, you say, I am made different on purpose. I am made different on purpose. It is my favorite line, literally, I've ever heard, because I wasn't born normal. I don't know if anyone knows who's listening, but I'm from Rhode Island, which is the smallest state in the United States. And I don't sound like I'm from Rhode Island. And people always ask me growing up, like, where are you from? I always thought I was adopted. I thought that my voice, not that there's anything wrong with being adopted, but I just did not feel like any part of my family. And I still don't, honestly, to be some days. If I didn't start looking like my mom as I get older, I would still think I'm adopted. And I just, truthfully, like, I don't sound like where I'm from. I don't act like anyone I'm around. My goals are so big. Like, people look at me and they think I'm like an alien. And you know what? To be honest, I am. And that would be cool. Aliens, how am I doing? Am I going to make it to the next level? I don't know. Let me know. Like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm different. I'm really different. And life is great when you're different, because you aren't stuck in the waves of people going to do all the same thing. Like, let me tell you, I don't ever have to wait at a bar, because I don't go. I don't ever have to, wait doing all these things that everyone else is doing, because I'm not going. I go to the beach in the winter and not the summer, okay? Like, I just personally love to do things a little bit different. And that's because I was made different on purpose. My life, it's okay if it looks completely different than someone else's. If my skill sets aren't the same, if I wasn't meant to be a cheerleader, if I'm afraid to do a forward roll, okay? I am afraid to do a forward roll. If I didn't make dance team the first year, but made it the second year and third year, in fourth year, like maybe my life isn't supposed to look like everyone else's. And I know this girl, and her life is high key picture perfect. Like nothing bad has happened to her. She doesn't have childhood trauma. She has a healthy family. Like she is like the picture perfect of like no trauma. And I look at that and I say, I would never want that. Like, I mean, granted, if you don't have it, bless. Like, but I love my broken pieces. I love understanding why and how and when and where and how my role in life can contribute to my own healing and also other people's, right? Like, I love diving in, and maybe you do too. And I want you just to see that you thinking you're broken ain't gonna fix nothing, okay? But you seeing that you are made different on purpose, that will change your life. So I hope that today you take away that you were made different on purpose, not by accident, not because you're a mess up, not because you were on the wrong conveyor belt, but on purpose. And I want you to figure out, okay, what can you do with what you're really good at? I wish I started looking at what I was good at back then, because I could have saved myself a whole lot of time. So that's the moral of this episode. Me and my latte wanted to tell you that we love you a latte. I'm like your cringy big sister here. I can make bad jokes. I'm old. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful that you listen. I'm so grateful for this space. I'm so grateful to be here on this journey with you. We have people from France, the United States, Malaysia, India listening to this podcast, and I am so grateful. So thank you. Share this out with your friends. Share this out on your Snapchat. I don't know how do people share things these days. I know you don't text. Share this out some way with someone who needs to hear it. This podcast is made for you. And I want it to be something you can utilize over and over and over again to share and to come back to and to listen back to episodes. They're meant to be evergreen, which means that you can listen to them over and over and over again. And maybe each time you'll pull something different out. So I hope you have a magical day. I hope you have a magical week. And I hope your magical days and magical weeks are filled with magical moments. All right. All of this to say, it gets better. I promise. Cheers.